A very good morning to our distinguished guest, Professor Dr. Mo Assistant bin Mo Noor, Chairman of the Board of Governors of Kolej Yayasan Saad, and Madam Nathan Binti Hilsmans, Deputy Principals of Kolej Yayasan Saad, Member of Board of Vajiravudh College, Mr. Kietikhun Chat Prasert, Headmaster of Vajiravudh College, Distinguished Old Boy of Vajiravudh College, respected teacher, parents, dear students, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Vajiravudh College, it is our great pleasure to welcome you to first VC KYS Friendship Debates. My name is Teshit Trakul Thongchai, President of the Vajiravudh College Debate and Speech Club.
And I am Maxine Modley. We are honored to serve as your Masters of Ceremony for today's event. Thank you for joining us as we celebrate another significant milestone in the enduring partnership between Vajiravudh College and College Yayasan Saad.
This year marked 23 years of friendship and collaboration between our two schools. For more than 2 decades, Vajiravudh College and College Yayasan Saad have built a strong and enduring relationship through academics, culture, and sporting exchange that continue to bring our students and community closer together. Today, we are delighted to celebrate another important milestone with the first ever VCKYS Friendship Debate, adding a new chapter to this long-standing partnership.
This year's motto, 23 years of brotherhood, from the pitch to the podium, captures the spirit of today's event. While the 23rd VC KYS traditional rugby match celebrates the rich sporting tradition between our two schools, today's debate highlights another equally important aspect of education: the ability to critically think, communicate effectively, and engage respectively with different perspectives. Whether on the rugby field or at the podium, our students are encouraged to strive for excellence, demonstrate integrity, and build friendships that will last a lifetime.
Whether on the rugby field, before we begin the competitions, allow me to briefly introduce today's program. We are honored to have Mr. Kietikhun Chat Prasert, Headmaster of Vajiravudh College, and Madam Nathan Binti Hilsmans, Deputy Principals of College Yayasan Saad, is presiding over today's event.
We will begin the opening ceremony, which includes opening remarks from the Headmaster of Vajiravudh College and the Deputy Principal of College Yayasan Saad. We will introduce our panel of adjudicators, review the debate rules and etiquette, and welcome today's debate teams. Following this, the debate competition will commence, after which our adjudicators will share their feedback and reflections on today's debate. Following this, we will announce the results, present the prizes and souvenirs, and conclude with the group photo. Finally, we will bring the event to a close with our closing ceremony.
Without further ado, it is my great pleasure to invite Mr. Kietikhun Chat Prasert, Headmaster of Vajiravudh College, to deliver his opening remarks.
Professor Dr. Mohammad Assistant bin Mohammad Noor, Madam, and Madam Natra Hussain, the Vice Principal from KYS, executive, teachers, staff, and students from KYS. On behalf of Vajiravudh College, I am pleased to welcome you all to our school this year to participate in the 18th Vajiravudh College and KYS traditional rugby match, in which you arrived yesterday, and you will spend a few days in Bangkok this time. I hope that you have a pleasant time as always. We fondly recall our visit to your school last year for the 17th traditional rugby match, and to the celebration of your school 30th anniversary. It was a memorable occasion, and we were honored to be part of the significant celebration for the KYS history. Following the success of the KYS and VC debate collaboration pilot project last year, in which you are kindly initiated last year. So we are pleased to host the first VC and KYS friendship debate competition this year, this morning, and followed by the rugby match tomorrow afternoon. We are confident that this event will further strengthen the friendship between our two schools and provide valuable opportunities for our students. So, thank you again for giving your time to visit us, and I hope you enjoy and all the events that we have planned to organize will be very success. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kyatikon Chapraset, for your inspiring remarks. It's now my great pleasure to invite Ms. Nantra Biti Guzman, Deputy Principal of College Yayasan Saad, to deliver her opening remarks.
Let me adjust this a little bit. All right, Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone, and Sawadika. So this is my fourth time in Bangkok, but I regret not finding a chance to actually visit Vajiravudh, previous years, because it's all very impressive here. It's nothing less than, oh wow, all the way when we entered the gate. So yeah, okay, so to start off today's debate, warm greeting to the headmaster, Mr. Kyatikun Chatpraset. We don't have Mr. Dijana Siroros. Yes, good morning. And of course, our chairman, Dr. Azizan Muhammad Noor and wife, and all our teachers. It is both an honor and a privilege to be here at this prestigious institution, Vajiravudh College. And our friendship has always been about rugby all this while. And I'm happy that finally, this year, we also have a debate as part of the friendship. And thank you so much for giving us this opportunity as well. On behalf of College Yayasan Saad, I would like to also extend our heartfelt gratitude to our gracious hosts for the hospitality. There's nothing, everything is very impressive. It really gives me the best impression as a first-timer in College Yayasan, in Vajiravudh College. I feel like, this is a very great opportunity that we are, establishing a better bond, a stronger bond this time with all debate competition coming in. So to the debaters, I would like to also remind them that debating is far more than a contest of words. It is also an opportunity for them to test their knowledge and learn to accept people's opinion and learn to professionally argue with each other and accept, different opinion from others. I encourage all debaters to approach today's debate motion with open minds, intellectual curiosity, and respect for one another's viewpoints. And remember that true spirit of debating lies not in proving others wrong, but in broadening our understanding and deepening our appreciation to current issues. To our debaters, both schools, You have already demonstrated remarkable dedication and courage simply by, being here and willing to debate in today's event. Speak with conviction, listen with respect, and enjoy every moment of this experience. Regardless of the outcome, you are all winners as you are already, brave this competition and willing to be in front of so many crowds here today. So with that, I wish all participants the very best for today's debate, and may the best team win. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Nathan Binti Herisman, for your thoughtful remarks. Today's event builds upon the success of KYS VC Collaboration Pilot Project held online in September 2025, which brought together students from the both school through meaningful academics exchange and friendly competition. We are delighted that this successful collaborations has evolved into first ever VC KYS debate, further strengthening the partnership between our two schools.
Today's event is proudly organized by the Vajiravudh College Debate and Speech Club with the support of the Vajiravudh College Event and Production Club, the Vajiravudh College Press Collective Club, and the Vajiravudh College Photography Club. We sincerely thank all students, teachers, and staff members for their hard work and dedication to making this event happen.
Today's debate will be contested between the propositions team from Vajiravudh College and the opposition from Kolej Yayasan Saad. On the motion, this House believes that de-extinction should not be pursued. Before debate begins, let us first introduce our distinguished panel of judges, followed by the debate team and an overview of competition's rules and debate interview. May I now invite my co-host Maxine to introduce today's panel of judges.
Thank you, Tashid. It is now my pleasure to introduce our distinguished panel of adjudicators whose expertise and experience will guide today's competition. We are truly honored to have 3 accomplished adjudicators from various institutes across Thailand. Their knowledge, professionalism, and dedication to debating will undoubtedly make today's competition both meaningful and inspiring.
Our first judge is Ms. Chanakan Wittiasakapan, also known as Big Bird. Mr. Chanakan is an accomplished debater, adjudicator, and debate trainer with extensive experience at both the national and international levels. Among his many achievements, he served as a breaking adjudicator at the World School Debate Championship in the Netherlands in 2022 and at the Tokyo Northeast Asia Debating Championships in 2021. He was the English and Foreigner Language Championship at the Asian British Parliamentary Championships 2021 and has won numerous national competitions, including the Thailand National British Parliamentary Open Championships. He has also represented Thailand in several international tournaments and has served as president of Chulalongkorn University English Debate Society. Please join me in welcome Mr. Chanakan Wittiasakapan.
Our second adjudicator is Ms. Janjuta Pantongkam, known as Cartoon. Ms. Janjuta graduated with first-class honors and a gold medal from the Faculty of Communication Arts at Chulalongkorn University and is currently pursuing her master's degree in speech communication. She is an experienced debate coach, speech instructor, and professional master of ceremonies. As an official representative of Chulalongkorn University, she has received numerous awards in prestigious inter-university debate competitions and has consistently demonstrated excellence in public speaking and communication. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Junjuta Pantongkam.
Our third adjudicator is Ms. Napat Wangsiri Paisan, also known as Tiam. Ms. Napat is an active university debater and experienced master of ceremonies. She has served as the master of ceremony for the several major university events and was awarded second runner-up in the 27th debate competitions for the trophy of Her Royal Highness Princess Mahachakri Sirinthorn. Please join me in welcome Ms. Napat Wangsiri Paisan.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give our distinguished panel of adjudicators another warm round of applause. We sincerely thank them for taking the time to join us and for contributing their expertise to today's debate competition.
We will now introduce the two teams competing in today's debate. Representing the proposition, please welcome the team from Vajiravudh College. May I invite the proposition team to introduce themselves.
Hello everyone, I'm Kandapat Nimuranatnai and I will be the first speaker in the proposition.
Good morning everyone, my name is Vajiravudh Gao and I will be the second speaker from proposition. Good morning everyone, my name is Adet and I'm the third speaker of this team.
Thank you. Now representing the opposition, please welcome the team from College Yayasan Saad. May I invite the opposition team to please introduce themselves.
Hello everyone, my name is Dinesh and I'll be the first speaker side opposition.
Good morning everyone, my name is Farisha. I'll be your second and your reply speaker for side opposition.
Hello and good morning everyone, I'm Aaron and I'll be the third speaker of side opposition.
Thank you to both teams.
Before we begin the debate, let us briefly review the competition rules and debate etiquette. The rules have been designed to ensure a fair, respectful, and enjoyable competition for everyone.
The debate will follow the official rules of the first VC-KYS friendship debate. Each team's first speech will be 5 minutes in length, and the raise speech and reply speech will be 4 minutes. Time signal will be given by the timekeeper throughout the debate.
Please note that POIs are not permitted during the friendship debate. Therefore, there will be no interruptions during the speech.
The adjudicator will assess the team performance based on 3 equally important criteria. First, content. Second, style. And third, strategy. The adjudicator decisions shall be final.
We kindly ask all participants and members of the audience to switch their mobile phones to silent mode and refrain from any unnecessary movement while the speakers are addressing the House. Thank you for your cooperation.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now ready to begin the first VC-KYS friendship debate. On the motion, this House believes that de-extinction should not be pursued. May I now invite the first proposition speaker from Vajiravudh College to deliver opening speech. Your time begins now.
Honorable Chair, esteemed judges, ladies and gentlemen, the possibilities of science may be endless, but our responsibility is not. Progress is not measured by what humanity can do, it is measured by what humanity chooses to do. The question before this House is not whether we can bring back extinct species, but the question is, should we do it? And we say, no. Today, we proudly stand in the proposition. Before discussing our arguments, let us begin establishing the setting of this debate. De-extinction is the process of recreating extinct species through technologies such as gene editing, cloning, or backbreeding with the aim of establishing viable populations and restoring ecological functions. Importantly, de-extinction is not simply creating an animal in a laboratory. A species is not truly restored when a specimen lives in captivity. De-extinction seeks to create populations that can survive and interact with the real world and survive in nature. And who might be involved in this progress? First, the private company who does the de-extinction. Second, the governments who need to make some new regulations or monitoring the overall system. Third, the people in the world. We are all involved because it's the biodiversity of the planet we are in, Earth. Importantly, we want you to understand that we are not against genetic engineering. We support genetic technologies for medicine, agriculture, and protecting living species. Our only objection is to the technology that brings back extinct species. Our team will prove three things. First, de-extinction creates serious environmental risks and societal risks. Secondly, it consumes valuable resources that might not be worthy. Thirdly, it creates a dangerous false narrative that extinction can simply be reversed. I will be responsible for the first argument. Judges, the biggest problem with de-extinction is introducing organisms into ecosystems that no longer resemble the world which those organisms once lived and evolved in. A mammoth would not return to the Ice Age, and a dodo would not return to the 17th century. They would enter ecosystems with different climates, species, predators, diseases, and different ecological relationships. People think that now, once we have advanced technologies, scientists may accurately predict what will happen, but our history suggests otherwise. One of the clear examples of this are the cane toads in Australia. Scientists introduced these cane toads to control agricultural pests. The intervention was supported by scientific reasoning and good intentions. But instead, the toads spread rapidly, poisoned native wildlife, and became one of the most damaging invasive species in Australian history. Importantly, though, for this debate, cane toads were not an extinct species. Scientists could directly observe them, study their behavior, and understand their biology before introducing them. Yet, despite having access to a living species and far more information, they still fail to accurately predict the consequences. This is not only a problem of the past. Just recently, wildlife officials confirmed the continued spread of the invasive zebra mussels into new waterways in the United States, where they are harming native aquatic species, disrupting ecosystems, despite ongoing monitoring and management efforts. These examples show that even today, with modern science and advanced ecological knowledge, introducing species to new environments still remain highly unpredictable. We assure you, though, that science might be advanced in many ways, but not for the ecological part. If scientists struggle to predict the effects of introducing new species, why should we be confident about introducing species that have been absent from nature for hundreds or thousands or even millions of years? This creates our first impact, the environmental risk. The extinct species can disrupt ecosystems by competing with existing wildlife for food and habitats, placing even greater pressure on the endangered species instead of restoring the biodiversity. The second impact is the societal risk. Once these organisms are released, the risk no longer belongs to the company that created them. It is transferred to society. Governments must regulate them, scientists must monitor them, and communities must live with any unintended consequences. Judges, the benefits of the extinction are uncertain. The risks are real before we even think about bringing some life back. Just know that the consequences of being wrong are irreversible and severe. Thank you.
Thank you. The first proposition speaker from Vajiravudh spent 4 minutes and 49 seconds. May I now invite the first opposition speaker from Kolej Yayasan Saad. Your time begins now.
Sawadee Krap, everyone. Today, technology is evolving rapidly, but we as society, are we using it properly? That should be the question in today's debate. Our goal as opposition is not to recreate animals for entertainment, but to really understand these extinct animals and develop technologies that not only benefit de-extinction, but can benefit other sectors as well, like conservation and medication, which I'll be talking later in my speech. Now, how does side opposition define pursuit as? 4 ways. Firstly, to continue in scientific research. Secondly, investing in biotech technology so that it can be used in other fields. Thirdly, improve the existing technology because we are evolving rapidly. Fourthly, only implementing de-extinction after rigorous scientific testing and ethical review. So de-extinction will be not done blindly, it will be done with a reason, and it will also be done with proper ethical review. Now, what is the stance of Saad opposition? We believe that responsible de-extinction should continue because it has scientific, environmental, and conservation benefits. What are those benefits? Is firstly, advances technology and knowledge. To bring back these extinct animals, scientists use various advanced technologies like CRISP. These discoveries, they are not only limited to de-extinction, but it can be also used in other fields like medicine and many more. Now, what is the example of a success case? Is that it can help us treat genetic disease in us humans, right? Now, the second benefit here is that we can also protect endangered species. Why do we say this? The same technology used in de-extinction, such as IVF and gene editing, are already being used to help endangered animals reproduce and increase genetic diversity. So, aside opposition narrative and alternative is trying to give a solution that can benefit both sides of the house, the extinct animals and also the endangered species here. Now, what is opposition's burden of proof? Three burden of proof. Firstly, the benefit outweighs the risk. Secondly, the risk can be managed by regulations done by the government, which I'll be explaining later. And thirdly, the uncertainty of success is not a sufficient reason to abandon scientific progress, right? If we do not evolve properly with scientific progress, then we as society, we're not going back. We're going back. We're not moving forward, right? Now, what is the status quo? Currently, scientists across the world are already researching the de-extinction alternative and already has successful cases. An example of this is the Colossal Bioscience attempting to revive the woolly mammoth, and the same institution has successfully brought back the dire wolf for proper reasons, right? Now, why is this essentially so good? Firstly, conservation and de-extinction can happen together. Proposition assumes that if we research de-extinction, we will start protecting these endangered animals. But let me tell you one thing, that this is false. Right now, organizations spend billions, or even governments of a certain country, they spend billions on habitat restoration, anti-poaching programs, and breeding endangered species. So de-extinction here is just simply another conservation tool. It won't be replacing conservation anyways. So both sectors can happen efficiently so that we can give the best alternative and solve a problem faster, right? Now, who's the stakeholder involved? We say the government of a certain country. Now, the government is actually responsible for making these policies and regulation. But if government decides to stick with science proposition narrative, they'll get two things. Firstly, losing opportunities to develop groundbreaking scientific research and biotechnology. Secondly, falling behind other countries in innovation and conservation. But then, if government decides to stick with science opposition narrative, they'll get two things. Firstly, they can continue protecting endangered species while advancing scientific research at the same time. Secondly, positioning the country like Thailand or Malaysia as a global leader in conservation and biotechnology. The second stakeholder here is society. Why do we say this? Side proposition might come up and say that, what if society do not agree with our alternative? But I will tell you two reasons why they will agree. Is firstly, they'll be amazed. When we bring back these extinct animals, they will have a sense of shock. When they have a sense of shock, they can really understand why we want to bring back these extinct animals. Secondly, they'll have a sense of guilt. Why do we say this? Animals like dodo bird became extinct because of us humans. So with that guilt, they would essentially have the narrative or the mindset that this is a right decision that the government is doing. Thirdly, it also aligns with the goals for society. Because right now, many nations use the taxes for wrong reasons. But if we use for de-extinction, it would not only be used for de-extinction purposes, the technology can also be used for medical sectors, conservation as well. So there's an all-round benefit. Now, that goes into my argument. How does presuming de-extinction provide a better conservation tool? There are two analyses to this. Scientists have the incentive to improve conservation. Secondly, scientists have the capacity to achieve this. Now, if we protect biodiversity and ecosystem stabilities, we can get a greater benefit. But if we fail to, when these species, they go extinct, they are affected. The animal cycle will be affected, the food cycle will be affected. And this creates a domino effect that weakens the entire ecosystem. So if you want to live in a world where biodiversity is also permitted, please vote for side opposition. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The first opposition speaker from Kolej, Yayasan Saad, spent 5 minutes, 5 seconds. May I now invite the second opposition speaker? Your time begins now.
The Honorable Judge, today I want to oppose the opposition team that firstly, you've been mentioned that de-extinction is how you're showing the advanced technology that have been improved. Yeah, sure, but since we have the other way to show that de-extinction is not the only way to improve the scientific method, we have also cloning, which we can bring the genetic of the other animal that in the endangered section and cloning it and they make them reproductive each other. Or maybe we can do gene editing to make some animal getting stronger. We're not against genetic engineering, but the only thing we are against is de-extinction. Why? Because de-extinction is have a risk that you have to manage it. Also, the thing that you've been saying that de-extinction might can do it with endangered animal. We can do it both, but the de-extinction is shift the attention and resource to de-extinction, and it's not even certain. And now, let's get back to our second point. Ladies and gentlemen, my contribution concerns why de-extinction is a poor investment of our resources. The opposition wants judges to see de-extinction as an investment in science. We partially agree that it is an investment, but the question is it a good investment for our future? The answer is no, because de-extinction comes with two costs, financial cost and time cost. Firstly, financial cost. De-extinction is not a simple experiment. Think of de-extinction as trying to recreate a loss of chocolate cake recipe. First, we recover the missing pages by comparing them with the vanilla cake recipes, and that's like the reconstructing an extinct animal's DNA using its closest living relatives. But that's only the beginning. You still have to bake the cake, make sure it tastes like the original, teach the other how to bake it, and keep the recipes alive for generations. Likewise, de-extinction requires gene editing, embryo creation, and more. And all of this requires enormous amount of funding, expertise, and scientific talent. Just one de-extinction project can cost around $650 million, and even then, the success is not guaranteed. Instead, that money could fund proven conservation efforts. For example, protecting rainforest habitat can cost us as little as $1,000 to $5,000 per hectare, while safeguarding thousands of plants and animals at the same time. Conservation delivers immediate proven and large-scale benefit. Therefore, de-extinction should not be pursued. And second, and most importantly, time cost. Money can still be recovered, but time cannot. The ultimate goal of de-extinction is not creating a single animal in a laboratory. It is creating a viable population capable of surviving in the real world. And that process takes decades, even centuries. De-extinction has been pursued for more than 25 years now, and the first cloning project began in 2001. And yet today, there is still no self-sustaining de-extinct population living in the wild. And while during the same period of time, more than 200 species have been officially declared extinct, while countless the other have moved closer to the extinction, this highlights the opportunity cost of de-extinction. The decades of research have focused on reviving a few lost species, while biodiversity continues to get declined. The greatest cause of de-extinction is not only the money, it is the years we spend looking backward, while conservation challenges continue to move forward. For all of this reason, it is enough to say that de-extinction is not a well-spent method and also comes with uncertainty, and we still have more options to choose from to make our world better without the risk of losing valuable resources. And for all of this reason, we stand proudly in proposition. Thank you.
Thank you. The second proposition speaker spent 4 minutes and 1 second. May I now invite the second opposition speaker. Your time begins now.
Panel, before I start my speech, I'll ask you an important question. Is it logical for side proposition to deny a technology just because it takes a lot of time and money in comparison with the status quo where they spend billions of dollars on conservation efforts with no prevail? Before I start my speech, I'll be telling you the flow. Firstly, I will start with my arguments and points on side opposition, and then I'll move on to my refutations and weighing in my speech. My first argument revolves around moral obligation and guilt. As a humanity living on Earth, like side proposition said, we have a responsibility to make sure that we are taking care of the planet properly. However, they fail to mention to you how does conservation efforts have actually been doing that. In status quo, we've been pushing billions of dollars into conservation efforts with no prevail. For example, they mentioned cloning and gene editing as a solution or as a solution to de-extinction. But let me remind you that cloning and gene editing is a part of de-extinction, as mentioned by the first proposition speaker. As it is getting harder and harder for scientists to make sure that more animals are not going extinct. For example, 99.5% of ant species in the past thousands of years have gone extinct, leaving only 0.5% of remaining animal species alive in status quo. Even then, majority of those species are highly endangered as listed in the red list in the World Health Organization. Let me tell you on side proposition, I have 4 analyses to this argument. My first analysis is that on side proposition, they don't provide us a viable solution as to how these conservation efforts are really working in status quo. And my second layer of analysis is that the principle isn't applied anywhere else. For example, people who pollute the planet are being held accountable for their actions. We don't just tell them, oh, it's fine, it's in the past, we can't do anything about it, and then we try, and then we don't do anything. Because on side opposition, we're proposing to you a solution to not only climate change, but also something that humans have caused, and we're fixing a problem in the ecological environment. My third level of analysis is that when conservation efforts fail, proposition blames the capital and pumps another few billion into conservation efforts. But frankly, it's not enough. If animals are still dying, if animals are still being highly endangered, it's obvious we need a new solution, and we need more technology to help the environment recover faster from not only natural events, for example, like forest fires, because it's harder and harder for the environment to bounce back after hazards and events caused by human beings. But when we have this de-extinction, these animals in the past who were known for helping the environment, for example, natural seed dispersers and animals who kept the circle of life natural, like apex predators, we're able to continue that natural circle of life at a better circumstance. Moving on to my refutations for side proposition, they tell us that, for example, the cane toads who were brought back in Australia were highly poisonous. But however, because of the limitations of the scientists, the capacity of the scientists were not enough because the government restricted that, they are not able to successfully bring it back. But secondly, they also talk about all the harms that were proposed by sub-proposition were harms stated in the early stages of development. Opposition tells you that it's fine to take money and time to provide de-extinction as long as it helps in some way. Even if de-extinction fails on side opposition, not only we will have the benefit of the research done, like gene editing and cloning, the success cases of cloning in status quo not only proves to the panel that de-extinction is possible and is beneficial. Side opposition also tells you that even if we fail, we still have more benefits than side proposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Second opposition speaker spends 4 minutes, 8 seconds. May I now invite the third proposition speaker? Your time begins now.
Good morning, honorable judges, ladies and gentlemen. I'm from the proposition team, and I want to oppose the opposition team that, firstly, we would be losing more resources, such as experts, fundings, and more, because of the risk you couldn't even calculate due to the lack of knowledge from those long extincted animals.
Furthermore, we spend a lot on conservation, and that's true, but it works and it has low risk due to the knowledge we have enough. Secondly, if it fails, those extincted animals would still be extinct, and there will be more and more extincted animals because of the time we lost. And you can also clone extincted animals because right now we don't have one. Let's go to the point, ladies and gentlemen. I will explain the final reason why we oppose de-extinction. The problem is not only what de-extinction does. The problem is how it changes people's mindset. My argument is based on the risk compensation theory. This theory explains that when people believe there is a safety net, they become more willing to take risks. So, for example, imagine someone asks you to jump from a high platform, you would probably refuse because that could really hurt you. But if there is a giant safety net underneath you, you are much more likely to jump because you believe that even if something goes wrong, you will still be protected. The same idea applies to de-extinction. For generations, extinction has carried one clear message, and that is once a species is gone, it is gone forever. That is why governments, companies, and society feel pressure to protect wildlife before it's too late. But de-extinction changes that mindset. If people start believing that extinct species can simply be brought back later, extinction no longer feels permanent. It becomes a problem that technology can fix in the future, instead of something we must prevent today. Because if the extinction process doesn't succeed, those endangered species at that time would already be gone forever. This way of thinking is especially dangerous for private companies. We have to remember one simple fact about human nature. People naturally respond to their incentives. When something is rare and valuable, people naturally want to benefit from it. And private companies are built on the same principle. We can already see this in the real world. For example, zoos, safari parks, and wildlife attractions charge people to see rare animals because rarity creates value. If a company becomes the first to create a living woolly mammoth, or even a dodo, do you think its strongest incentive is to release it into the wild and benefit the ecosystem? No. It is more likely for them to keep it as an exclusive attraction, attract wealthy tourists, and increase its company's value. That is the moral hazard of the extinction. It weakens the urgency to prevent extinction and creates new financial incentives to commercialize it instead. Judges, in conclusion, if de-extinction really existed, it would be a business opportunity for de-extinction companies. This is because it would be more likely for them to just keep those animals and earn money through their awareness, instead of releasing them into the nature and benefit the biodiversity. Which means that those benefits the opposition team has mentioned earlier will be less likely to happen in the real world. Furthermore, the moment extinction becomes something we can undo, we stop treating it as something we must prevent, which will definitely affect us when it's already too late. For these reasons, we proudly propose. Thank you.
Thank you. The third proposition speaker spent 4 minutes and 3 seconds. May I now invite the third opposition speaker. Your time begins now.
Before moving forward towards my speeches, note these two things. No, first thing, consider the fact that we're facing heat waves. Consider the fact that we have climate change. This is so bad, and if you do not do anything, which is side proposition, you're not doing anything, you're allowing these problems to increase. You're allowing these problems to become much worse. Now, moving on to my speech, it's going to be simple. I'm going to the rebuttals, then going to my expanding on the point that's made by my second speaker, then I'm going to give a comparative on what both sides gives to this debate.
Now, my first rebuttal is, why do you think that we have the lack of knowledge? Because you're limiting the resources that we're able to do these things. You're limiting the money or capital in order to make these good and efficient researches. Secondly, double standards of safety nets. Conservation efforts that exist on your side also have these problems also. So why are you not touching on them? And if that's your breaking point, then why are you supporting it in your side? Know that they're running a harm case, there's no models, so they don't give anything to this debate at all. At least we're doing something in order to help society, and I'm going to prove in my speech, even if it doesn't work, why do we still have the benefits? My third rebuttal is towards when people know about the extinction, they want to help. Society are willing to fund towards these things if they know it's able to help their living, which lines up with their goals, which creates better researching for the extinction. My last rebuttal is that it's not likely for it to become a circus, because my first speaker already said in their speech, if you guys listen to it, is that they have regulations, and it's not going to become commercialized. Now, I want to be expanding on defending our case. Firstly, they say that the benefit does not outweigh the harm that exists. We have three responses towards this. First, you agree to the fact that our benefits still exist. They have not refuted this at all. Secondly, the extinction wasn't pursued to the capacity that is required to, and you cannot reach these benefits without having those capacities. Thirdly, you guys don't have a model that can help this world. So my strategy still prevails. The fact that I proved that their model doesn't work and our model works both ways, meaning that even if the extinction works, then we manage to have these technological advancements, help in ecological worlds, and help in other sectors in the world. And if it doesn't work, at least we had the research to know what does work and what doesn't work. So better researchers in the end for the future. So what does our impacts on towards our side, which the impacts on government, on proposition side doesn't exist. They have no impacts towards the world. They're basically nothing if they don't provide anything. So it's easy to weigh on this, meaning that principally we're being responsible for what we do, because humans are the one that makes this world much worse. We make cars that funds towards climate change. We have to do something about it, and de-extinction is one of the ways. Know that even in their speech, they support the extinction, because cloning efforts and genetic mutation is part of the extinction. So they're basically going on the outside also. But practically, the benefits exist, I already said, is astronomical. Next, extending the point that's made by my second speaker, our model on utilitarianism and deontology, especially in status quo, meaning we achieve these astronomical benefits even while having these harms. We concede that these harms does exist, but don't let it cloud the fact that we have better living through better researches, climate change, we managed to aid climate change, and the next step towards technological advancements for these other sectors in the world to help our society. In their model as a deontologist, they cannot accept the fact that, yes, we had to make sacrifices in order for better living. We have to make those trades. We have to have costs. We have to have time for these things. So the likelihood of a better world only exists on the outside, because at least we do something to prove that this astronomical benefit works, and only on the outside. And because it's exclusive. But even if it doesn't, we see what works and doesn't work. So even in their best case, which I don't think they have a case, is basically nothing, no impacts, no anything for the world. But even on that worst case, we can have better researchers because we know what we can and what we can't do. So in the end, only side opposition managed to give an impact towards the world. Thank you.
Thank you. The third opposition speaker spent 4 minutes 5 seconds. We will now proceed to the reply speeches. May I invite the first or second opposition speaker to deliver the opposition reply speech. Your speaking time is 4 minutes. Your time begins now.
To start my reply speech, another question to the panel. Is it logical for you to give the win to proposition when it didn't give us an alternative to the problems posed by the opposition in status quo? We told you that conservation efforts aren't enough, and we've told you that the problem is arising even though conservation efforts are being put into place. When opposition gives the panel a solution, proposition side comes up here and tells you that it isn't worth it because of the time and money spent into the extinction. However, However, on side opposition, we proved to you 3 things. Number 1, our benefits outweigh the harm. Even if there is harm of people assuming that we can reverse extinction and how extinction isn't permanent, let me remind proposition that even us as a human race are about to be extinct. If we don't do something about it, then the whole world will collapse under the weight of the fact that humans can't help but destroy the planet. Secondly, opposition proved to you that whether or not we successfully revive an entire population of extinct animals, we tell you that even if we don't succeed, we are able to give you the benefits of research that is funded by the government, by the capital being put into the research, that can help not only the animals in protecting this endangered wildlife, but also help in the gene mutation research that humans need in order to face illnesses like cancer and leukemia and etc. We tell you that even if we fail, we're able to have these sort of benefits that not only is a win-win situation for everyone, but shows to the society that even if something is controversial, or even if something looks like it's not worth it, it's still worth it in the long run. Because in the end, we benefit in the long run, even if it takes thousands or millions of years to find a sustainable solution. At least we're doing something. At least we're doing something to save the environment. When we know that conservation efforts don't work. On site, and these burdens that site proposition was supposed to fulfill, for example, they were supposed to tell us that how it's inherently not worth it despite the benefits, which they didn't prove because they were running a harm case in stating how the extinction was so harmful, but then they weren't providing us a solution since this is a policy motion where both sides were supposed to give a policy or at least a counter policy. And lastly, they were supposed to prove to us how de-extinction proves that it will only harm wildlife more because it will replace conservation efforts. When side opposition comes up here and say that conservation efforts exist alongside de-extinction, because de-extinction is a tool that the government uses in order to aid conservation efforts when it's not enough. There's a sense of urgency on side opposition that we know the problem and we're intending to fix it via moral obligation. So in the end, why does opposition take this case? We've fulfilled our burden to the panel, and we've also provided you many impacts and benefits that help aid our case and refute the proposition's arguments. With that, why should the panel pick side opposition? Is because our model hails benefits whether or not it works, and our model has benefits in the long run rather than proving that it's harmful in the short run. Because in early development stages, the harms will always be there. We concede to the fact that these harms are there, but that is because of not only the restrictions being put by the government, by the proposition, but also because of the capacity not being fulfilled by government via the proposition's policy. And with that, you should pick side opposition because we actually gave you a model to evaluate on. So thank you.
Thank you. The opposition reply speech was 3 minutes and 41 seconds. Finally, may I invite the first or second proposition speaker to deliver their proposition reply speech. Your speaking time is 4 minutes. Your time begins now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will go on with my first crash point, is that the opposition claims that bringing back extinct species that we made extinct, like the dodos, thylacines, or mammoths, will make us feel better and increase our moral standing. But as my third proposition says, that once the extinct is made and discovered, people will be more careless of protecting the endangered, and instead be more careless and make those endangered species extinct instead. Now, a lot of time and money would be used on de-extinction, and if it fails, a lot of money and resources would go to waste. And while we're trying to play God and revive these extinct creatures and it fails, all the other endangered species will go extinct and we would not gain any benefits, as well as gaining a lot of negatives. While the opposition say that we will get a lot in return. The opposition also says that we will set some regulations or other things, but I want to ask you, what are those regulations? You have not said anything about that at all. The opposition also says that we will gain lots of benefits and researches and scientific advancements to other sections and fields if de-extinction works. Then I want to ask you, if it fails, we do get benefits, yes. But if we truly just want the advancements, shouldn't we just focus on those advancements instead of waiting them to become bonuses and benefits to improve our world faster instead? Ladies and gentlemen, this debate has never been about whether science is powerful. It has always been about whether pursuing de-extinction is the right choice of scientific use and talent or not. And our answer is still no. First, de-extinction creates real environmental and societal risks. Even with modern science, history shows that introducing species into new ecosystems is still highly unpredictable. Once history shows that once these organisms are released, though, the consequences are no longer limited to the company that created them. They become a burden to governments, scientists, and that society must carry altogether. Second, de-extinction is a poor use of valuable resources. It demands enormous amounts of money, time, and scientific talent with no guarantee of success. Those same resources could instead be used to protect thousands of species that are alive today through our conservation efforts with proven results like cloning. Finally, de-extinction creates a dangerous false narrative. If people begin to believe extinction can simply be reversed, the urgency to prevent extinction today becomes extremely weaker. Instead of encouraging responsibility or increasing our moral standing, it encourages complacency and even incentives to commercialize extinction rather than to prevent it. Judges, the opposition asks you to believe in possibilities. We, the proposition, ask you to believe in probabilities. Their case is about what might happen someday, while our case is what we know today and the tendency in the future. The risks are real, the costs are immediate, and the consequences of failure are irreversible. When the choice is between reviving the past or protecting the future, the responsible decision is clear. For all these reasons, we proudly stand in the proposition. Thank you.
Thank you. The proposition reply speech was 3 minutes, 39 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's debate. Please join me in giving both teams a big warm round of applause.
Our panel of adjudicators will now deliberate while the teams remain seated. While our adjudicators finalize their decision, we'd like to hear from our debaters. Can the first speaker for the proposition please join us?
Good morning. Can you please introduce yourself again?
I'm Kantapat Nimburanatnai and I'm from the first proposition team.
How long have you been involved in debating? Oh, how old are you, Guy?
I'm currently 14 years old and in M3, which is 9th grade, I think, if I remember correctly.
Thank you so much. How long have you been involved in debating?
I have joined the debating club last year, but have actually never been into debating. This is, I think, my first time in the podium, but I have a lot of English-speaking experience from my home and my school.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much. And what do you enjoy most about debating?
I think it's about the speaking and improvising new rebuttals to debate with the other side, yes.
Thank you so much, Guy. Thank you for sharing your insight. Can the second opposition speaker please join us?
Good morning. Could you please introduce yourself again?
Hi, My name is Farisha, and I'm the second speaker on opposition.
How long have you been debating for?
I've been debating for 3 years now, since I'm in Form 3.
Wow, okay, a very long time. What has been your favorite debate topic so far?
My favorite debate topic so far is about feminism and how politics affect the gender standards in society.
Okay, that's very interesting. And can you share one piece of advice from a coach that has stayed with you? Think about it, take your time.
I think the best piece of advice my coach has given me is to think outside the box and not rely so much on the words of the motion. It's to preempt on what the other side is trying to say so that you can incorporate it into your arguments.
Okay, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you.
I think both of their teams deserve a big round of applause again. And right now, the adjudicators have now completed their deliberations. Before we announce the results, we are honored to invite each adjudicator to share their feedback and observation with the both team.
May I respectfully invite Mr. Chanakan Witiasakpan to share his feedback.
Okay, hello. Okay, I think I'm audible. Okay, so welcome both teams. So first of all, I would like to start off that I think the debate, I like the debate happened. I think that both sides did a very good research prior to this, and all speeches were highly structured and very easy to follow. I would say that the quality of the debate happened is comparable to the real debates in World School Debate Championship that I have judged in my experience. So at first, I'm going to share my feedback to be relatively simpler, but now that I know what teams are good and are capable of understanding the full extent of the feedback, I will adapt my feedback style to be like real world school style. But since it should be general comments and I should not reveal the verdict, I will try to keep it as neutral as possible. So if you guys want personal feedback, feel free to approach me after the debate to ask for personal feedback. Okay, so I'm going to do this into 3 parts. First, my impression of the debate. Second, my general comments and how I would advise on both sides to further that case. And third, what are the key clashes of the debate that would determine my verdict. So first, let's begin with my overall impression of the debate. I think the debate as a whole was on point. I think both sides have strong arguments that really hit home the core of the motion. I think, however, the debate could use a little bit more on mechanization and characterization. That is, walking through why certain things would work a certain way. Because I think that both sides have directly opposite claims, whereas one of them give me the headline and then went straight to the impact. Why this is important and why it is good or bad. But I think more time could be devoted to explain why one thing is more likely than the other, as opposed to claiming right away that it is more likely. I will talk more about that when I talk about what can be improved. What I like, especially for the opposition side, is in terms of engagement and weighing that happen. I think Ob was very strategic in highlighting to me what are the ways that try to win the debate by emphasizing the even if that happen and how I should evaluate the debate. On proposition side, I like the fact that you can start off with very clear stance, what you are against and what you support, which also allows me to see the debate very clear and see how this will progress. Okay, so that's my overall impression of the debate. So now I will move on to 3 main areas that I think could better the debate as a whole. So, for me, the first area would be in terms of characterization and mechanization. For those who haven't heard these words before, characterizations, I would put it simply as to give characters to what to the things you're talking about so that the audience can see what they look like and how it would lead to the impact that you claim. And mechanization just means walk me through the impact. How, given the world and given the character of stuff, how would it lead to the impact? I would go side by side on this. On proposition side, I would say there are two things that need to be characterized a little bit more. First, I think that I would want characterization and explanation on how ecosystem works. This is mainly because the entire first argument of proposition is on the point that when you release into the ecosystem, it's going to be harmful and it could lead to disruption of ecology. This calls for explanation on how these species would interact with existing species. I think it was concluded relatively fast on why it would be disruptive. I would want explanation, for example, that these species are likely to be, for example, predators, so that it would mean that they eat a lot of animals in the current ecosystem, and that's why it would disrupt. Or you mean that they will overpopulate and regenerate very fast to the point that it disrupts the food chain, stuff like that. This is crucially important, given that the explanation given to me is that they would not be able to adapt to the current world, given the change in the ecology. Because the reasonable conclusion to that is not that once you give me this characterized that like the world has changed, I do not see yet why the conclusion would be that they disrupt the ecosystem as opposed to they will just die because they cannot adapt to the world. I think this logic needs to be mapped out for me to directly see why just because the worlds are different mean that they would disrupt the ecosystem as opposed to just vanish and everything go into like nothing. Okay, that's the first thing that I would want more characterization. The second characterization that I want pertains to the second argument. It's on like the budget allocation, because I think that the second argument is impactful in itself, that like because we kind of need money for certain things that are lacking now, and there are things that usually work better. I think the second argument relies on the assumption that monies are mutually exclusive. That if you take a lot of money into these de-extinction, it would take substantial amount of money away from it. Because the logical conclusion of that argument would just be that we do not need to stop pursuing the extinction. We just need to reallocate the budget in a way that we can secure conservation while still securing the benefit of the extinction. I think that there was not enough explanation for me to why we cannot just adapt the proportion of allocation as opposed to just stop pursuing it altogether. So these are the two characterizations that I would want more from the proposition side. For the opposition side, there are mainly two things as well that I would want you to characterize more. Firstly, I would want the characterization on the nature of technology. This pertains to the first argument about there would be spillover effects, that the technologies coming from the extinction can be used for other fields, and it has spillover effect. What I would want you characterize to me would be to what extent I can be sure that it could be spillover. I think I would want characterization, for example, that science is governed by certain principles that can be transferred from one thing to another, or that inspiration of scientific innovations are usually transferred from other fields. Because as it is now, right? I have question of like, to what extent I can be sure that this can be transferred. Are all technologies transferable, or it's just certain things and it is up to chance? The claim now for me still sound relatively speculative. To what extent I can be sure that the spillover will happen. But secondly, the reason that I want more characterization is because I think, as pointed out by the proposition side, the question I had throughout was, if you want more technology, why do we need to go for the extinction? Why don't we just directly research for certain technology that we want? I think by characterizing what technologies and the nature of science better, you will be able to secure these two fields of benefits and securing the benefit of spillover effect methods. So those are the two characterization that I think if opposition gives me more, would make your case even stronger. Okay, that's the first area that I think could be improved on. Okay, I will try to slow down. I am not sure if I'm rapping. Am I being too fast? It's okay, right? Okay, so that's the first field on like the characterization. Talk about the nature of certain things more before you go to claim why something would turn out certain way. Those are two things that I mentioned for both sides. Okay, so the second area that I think could be added to better the debate as a whole would be to conclude with a little bit more impact and substantiate certain stuff to make it more impactful to the audience. This is a relatively small point, but I think it could make a big point for both sides. For proposition side, what I would want more is the bigger picture that when the ecosystem is disrupted, what exactly would it lead to? I think you could portray me the picture of like the food chain will be disrupted, or the fact that there will be even less animal, and then try to make it more emotional on why the disruption of ecology is so bad. Because I think now when you end at ecology, the word sounds very big and it remains unclear to me to what extent I need to think of it as a big deal. The second area in terms of impact would be, I think that the impact coming from proposition side sounds a bit contradictory to me. I can see ways to resolve this contradiction, but the way it was presented sounds relatively contradictory. What do you mean by that? In the first speaker, it was claimed that this would destroy ecology and make it very disruptive for people. And then later on in the debate, you talk about how this may be privatized and it would lead to like moral hazard. I think both are good claims. However, I think this cannot be true at the same time. Because if it is true that they will be released into the nature, then I do not see how private companies could monetize it. But if I believe that they would want to monetize it by keeping them in a certain place for people to pay to visit, then I do not see why it would result in disruption of ecology. I think these claims can be happening at the same time, just need more explanation that regardless of how it turns out, they would both be bad. But the way it is presented now, I feel that I do not see yet what is your main push. So by pinpointing your main push as a strategy would allow you to know better what to protect so that you could push that same point over and over as a part of your strategy. Okay. For opposition side, I think the main thing that I note down and I listen that would make impact to me as a judge would be in terms of the principle. I think that our principle brought by oppositions are highly good principle. Both in principle in terms of guilt, that we are the one responsible for making certain species extinct, so we should also be accountable and out of guilt to bring it back. I think this is a very great claim and compelling principle. I do think that in order to make it more impactful, these principles could take more time, because for me it's unclear yet what established this moral principle, to what extent this principle is true, and why do I have to care about this principle. I think it was just mentioned that we have this principle, but what constitutes the principle yet, or why is it important, left quite unclear to me. I kind of know how to build this principle, I'm just not sure if that's what you meant as you say. So I think by extending more on principles, spend some time establishing it would make it more impactful to me, so that I would be able to weigh the principle into the debate as like a big clash as a part of it. Okay, that's my second area in terms of how to impact the debate that I would give. The third area would be in terms of the responses that both sides are given. I think there were a lot of responses given in the debate, and I like that. However, I think that both sides could spend, especially proposition, but to a certain extent opposition too, could benefit from spending more time explaining the most important point of the other side to fully take it down. Because I think responses given at the moment are mainly the right and strong intuitive headline, but not enough explanation to me to see how it works. Let's go side by side. For proposition, you rebut against one of the point by opposition on the point of spillover effect. Opposition claims that like the technology coming from the extinction can be used in all the fields, and that's good. That's the benefit that you stand regardless of whether it fails or lose. The proposition responded to this by claiming mid-debate that, but we're not against gene editing, we're not against other technology, and it was again said in reply speech that if we want certain technologies, we should just go for it. We don't need the extinction as a gateway to that technology. I think this is a very good response because it directly questions the claim that to what extent, even if it's used, to what extent I need to care to the point that it's sway my verdict. However, I think it was claimed just a headline that like you could just go for the technology, or like this technology likely exists anyway. There was not enough link back to me on why we should make it means that we should not pursue de-extinction. Sorry. One example could be that given that all technologies and benefits that opposition could talk about, it means that we could directly pursue it, and it is going to be better if you go with proposition side. For example, you could talk about because 100% of the technology will be used, given that there is no money waste on failed project of the extinction. So that's why the benefits likely happen on both sides, but it's better on proposition side, for example. To really conclude that that's why the benefits that opposition talk about are not important in the debate. But I think the explanation below that never came to stop that like, well, we could just go for the technology instead, or like you also have that technology. Unclear what is the implication of this rebuttal. Okay. So for opposition side, I think opposition side rebuttal strategy was like clear to me to follow. Because it was laid out what is the assumption of the claim and why it worked or does not work. One example of this would be when opposition give response again the proposition point about this destroy ecology. It was rebutted that no, because it would like you can contain and regulate it so that it would not be too disastrous. I think that this is good response. As I said earlier, I think it's called for just like characteristics of like, so why, to what extent, like why does ecology work? But for me, the response is fine. What I have noted down for opposition would more for like, for this point, the most important point, you could be a little bit more charitable in your even if without going to like mention like that all the benefits will happen anyway. What do you mean by that? Because I think that another assumption of proposition side that comes in first, and I don't think was extensively engaged by opposition, is on the point of like, at the end, if you really want to make the impact on the ecology, you need to release all these species that are revived into the ecosystem anyway, and that would lead to the benefit. I think the response is now that you could contain and regulate them, never directly engage with this about whether we need to fully release it or not. At the end, I still feel like, okay, so does opposition think like we would need to fully release it? If we need to fully release it to yield the most benefit of like environmental impact, wouldn't that fall into the harms brought up by the government side? Or if opposition is trying to say that like they would never be released, they would be contained, then does that not mean that you wouldn't be achieve the fullest impact of environmental consequences that like it will better climate change, it will help the ecology. I think this is kind of like the charitability that I would want opposition to be more explicit, so that I see that in terms of ecology, that's where the opposition want to go with. That's the picture that the opposition want to portray. However, I think the ecology now, in terms of like rebuttal, remains largely unclear to me on what is the strategy of opposition when it comes to the ecology point. Okay, so those are the three main areas of debate that I want to talk about in terms of like characterization, engagement, and then the how to impact the debate more. So to conclude, my comment is, this is not an oral adjudication, so I will not be really like giving out my verdict, but I would just note that at the end of the debate, I think there are three main key questions that I would decide this debate on. The first question is, which side protects the ecology better? Second question is, which side protects the principles of humanity better? And third, that which side has better scientific progress overall? The teams that win more clashes, and the most important clash is the team that I will give the win for today's debate. If any question, feel free to approach me after the debate. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chanakan Widyasakpan, for your detailed and insightful feedback. I'm sure all debaters will benefit from your advice in future debates.
May I now invite Ms. Jinsutha Pantongkham to share her feedback.
Good morning, everyone. Before I begin, I want to say a huge thank to the previous adjudicator. That was such a brilliant and insightful commentary, and I'm absolutely sure everyone in this room has taken away a ton of valuable insights from it. So, on top of it, I would like to add a little bit more from my own perspective. To start with, what I absolutely love about today is how two of both sides give a very confident standing here and give something insightful and interesting. Every single one of you step up and show that you clearly did your great homework and you came in incredibly well prepared. And you held on to a very strong, very clear stance throughout the debate. So, moving on into my feedback, because I'm sure that there is some room for improvement, I would like to break this down into two main areas, content and presentation. Let's start with the content from both teams. It was very interesting because it feels like both teams were playing on a totally different fields for me. Like, on the proposition side, the core idea was all about this is too risky. It's not just worth it to try de-extinction. While on the opposition side, the narrative shifts to at least we have to try, we need to save the planet, and here are the massive benefits. Even the de-extinction is not success or something like that. So, because I think it is because this motion to de-extinction or not is still highly controversial around the world, and we do not even have so many real-world examples. Yet, I get that it is incredibly hard to find the hard proof. Still, I think the main piece of advice I would like to give to you both today is to don't be so afraid to step into the gray area while you're in debate competition. I could see that this time, debate feels like a bit too black and white. Like the proposition team paints a picture where everything is terrifying and so dangerous, while the opposition team portrays a world where everything is perfectly under control, beautiful, and justified just because we did some scientific research. However, even though a debate splits you into two teams, I think it doesn't mean you have to really be 100% rigid on that extreme. Like bringing your arguments closer to how the real world works is often how you win. However, when you push too hard to the extreme side, I think it's easy to fall into a slippery slope argument, like a fallacy one where you claim that one small step will inevitably lead to a chain of negative events without really proving why. For instance, and forgive me for calling out these specific points from some specific debaters, I'm only using them because they are great examples though. From the proposition side,
There was a point suggesting that if we have de-extinction, society will completely lose its minds and become entirely careless about conservation. Or from the opposition side, there was a claim that if we they absolutely guarantee to get benefit from this, no matter what. Like, we would not lose anything. So, that being said, looking at the content you did bring to this table, both cases were highly well organized though. So, if you want to take your content to the next level, I highly recommend strengthening the explanation part. Like, for every point raised by each team member, like, make sure you clearly explain why it matters. Follow that up with solid facts, statistics, or some research that you could looking for, and wrap it up with a plausible real-world example. And before moving on, I also want to highlight the distinct strengths of both sides today. The proposition team did a fantastic job with rhetorical techniques, like analogies, metaphor thing, like were highly engaging and made things so easy to visualize and to follow. For example, when the second one mentioned the cake recipe, and it kind of made me a bit hungry, or how people mindset shift that the third one gave on the floor. And for the opposition team, on the other hand, brought a really cool pro-modern technology vibe to the table, which gave your case a very forward-looking energy. Now let's talk about the presentation technique here. Overall, I think the standard was very high. You all shake the box of what makes a good public speaker, like solid eye contact, clear vocal delivery, and effective use of hand gestures. But if there's one thing to work on, I think it's like to building a more distinct character on stage. I know some of you might have felt a bit excited or nervous, which is completely understandable. I am excited too right now. But despite that, you all maintain a highly professional delivery. So if you want to add some extra edge next time, try adding something more persuasive to your delivery. Don't just make the audience understand the logic, but also make them feel it. Connect with them emotionally, maybe from how to use your voice, or from some example, or add some more rhetorical technique, not just intellectually. So, to wrap all of this up, today's decision for me is going to come down to the proof. Given how speculative this topic can be, our judgment will be based on the evidence and the arguments presented. Specifically, which side managed to sound a bit more realistic than the other side, more grounded in the real world, and ultimately more believable. And to wrap things up, I am incredibly happy and honored to be here to witness this first VC KYS friendship debate. Every single one of you performed at a remarkably high standard, and this is just a great conclusion to today. I think it would be like a remark first step to a bigger milestone in the future. And if you all have anything to ask further, feel free to come to talk to me and all the adjudicators after the competition ends. So thank you so much, and congratulations to both teams. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Suthap.
Finally, may I invite Ms. Napat Wangsiripaisan for her feedback.
Greetings, students, staff, and teachers from both VCs and KYS. My name is Napat Wangsiripaisan, and I'm very honored to be your judges for today's debates for the first time for VC and KYS. So I would try to be as concise as possible, because I think you might already be a little bit tired, right, for both of the teams. So I would get into the points, and this is how I structured my comments today. So first, I will explain on the proposition sides, then explain my thoughts on oppositions, and then I will give my criteria to my verdict today. And before I go on to my comments, I would like to say that both of you have done a really, really great job. If I were you in that age, I wouldn't able to be doing something like this. So a round of applause to yourself. Okay, so let's get started, shall we? So for the proposition sides, what I really like about this, I think it has clear standing points that they say that de-extinction is very risky and uncertainty, so why do we pouring our resources into something that it is unpredictable? However, it is also have a very easy structure to follow and understand, and I think they also have the very well explanations for each point and everything. And also, I like the rebuts that they have bring some new ideas and concepts for the debates. For example, that they have stated that the extinctions could create less conservative by moral hazard and everything. However, there are still some room for improvement by talking about pros and cons, because today we can't really predict that the debate is going to be more of the comparative debates and motions. However, I think one of the things that was a little bit could be improved more is that you have talked about the pros and the cons, but there was no really comparative part of weighing between what is more between pros and cons. I already know what is the pros, I already know what is the cons, but then which is more or less, I haven't really heard it clear enough in the debate. However, I think you have done a really great job trying to attack the others. You have to try to point out what is the cons from the other sides. However, you haven't really bring back to what is going to be the pros from doing so as your team try to stand. And also, I think, as I say, that there's the new ideas from the de-extinctions could create the moral hazards. I also have the same thoughts with P. Big Bird that it's actually leave me some questions that it is really going to be like that. Because even if there's de-extinctions, I don't think it could lead people to think that, yeah, because we have the extinction, we can just not care about the conservations for species and everything. So I think if you want to state about that, maybe you need to give a bit more of explanation why this could create the moral hazards. And I think one is that you have explained it pretty well for your presentation. However, you have picked a little bit, not a lot of point to rebut. And also when you pick it and then you explain just a bit too concise. For me, if you want to rebut, you need to explain more because they have raised a really great point to argue as well. So maybe if you want to crash their point, you need to explain more and give it more time and more examples and everything. And now I will switch to the opposition sides. So what I like about them is that they are coming with also the clear standing points that today they're saying that, okay, it might be risky, it might be unpredictable, but doing it is better than nothing because it still gives you the knowledge and more of the research and everything that could improve the science and technologies and develop the further research in the world. However, I think one of the things that could use a bit more is the word presumptiveness that you have stated in the first person. You have said that, yeah, you give the great definitions that, okay, so this is not only about creating the new thing, but you need to have the ethicals, you need to think about it. It's more complicated than you just think that you just create a new you just regenerate the thing that already exists. But I think I haven't really heard it that much afterwards. I think this is a really great explanation and definition for this word that you could really benefit from using this. And the others also didn't really rebut on these definitions. So I think it would be very great if you could bring it again and again to say that, okay, because we want to pursue the extinction doesn't mean that it's just easy and we can just simply do it like that. It's more of the complicated steps and everything. And I want to say that the opposition team have done a really great job on giving me the visualizations on what will the world be if we pursue and not pursue the extinctions. Because I think as the first person who have stated, okay, so this is what the world will be if we pursue that. Okay, so if we pursue the extinctions, then we're going to develop all the technologies and we have all the knowledge, but if we do not pursue it, then that means that we're going to falling behind. So I think this is also one of the things that I really like about it, because you give me the world to see, okay, this is what it's going to be like. And also, I really like the reply speech that you give the direct challenge to the proposition team that, okay, so today, if the proposition team wants to win the debate, you need to say why it's worse to do so. However, I think if it's come a little bit before, then it might be a little bit better, so that I have it in mind, because right now it just like come at the end, so I just have it in mind at the end that, okay, so this is what you want them to challenge with you. Okay. And now I will go to the improvement for the oppositions. I have already stated some of them, but one of the things that I think you have done, you could done a little bit better is the ecosystem point, because this is also one of the crash points that you could even predict that is going to come like this. However, you have explained it with something that I think, yeah, it's pretty strong, but then it is still not very strong that I could just say that they are wrong. So if you can predict that, yeah, there's going to come like this, then maybe you need to find a little more of the explanations or the examples. Why would you beat them in this case? So for this, I didn't say that you lose for the ecosystem. However, I would say it's just like on the same level. I didn't give anyone more of the points for this, because I think it's pretty much the same. They also haven't really beat you in this case as well. And also, one of the things you have mentioned that money and time doesn't really matter if it's helped in some way. So I think, yeah, it's also supports your standing point, but it's also contrast at the same time, because it gives me the questions whether is there any other ways that could be more direct and efficient. So I just think that maybe money and time is also matters, but maybe you could try to, use the word that say that this is also like the efficient way to do it. Because right now what I heard is actually, yeah, this might not be the most efficient way, however, it still gives you some knowledge. And last thing is, I think the opposition side has really so many things that they want to explain, and they were a bit fast. However, I think it's really great, but maybe next time if you comes to debate, you maybe try to concise a bit more and do not try to give more of the examples. You just try to be precise on the point and explain it, because it's the core where it's going to give the examples strong, not the examples that going to give your core strong. And so I will come to my final part where I'm going to say what is my contribution to my verdict. So the teams who persuade me to see the cons from doing or not doing, and leaving you less questions about the opposite teams more, will win. However, today you have done a really great job, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Napat Wangsiripaisan. Your feedback was very thoughtful, and I'm confident your insight will help our debaters grow and develop. We would now like to invite Mr. Yatikun Chaprasad to share some of his thoughts on the debate.
Distinguished guests, I'm not going to share my thought on the debates, but I would like to thank you very much for the three adjudicators for your time with us and your valuable comments, in which I think all the students will take your comments to improve their ability in both debating and for the public speaking in the future. Thank you very much indeed. And since this is the first time that we organize this activity in which we will have this kind of activity in the years to come, and since we have the distinguished member of the board of the governors of the two schools joining us this morning, so I have the honor to invite Professor Dr. Muhammad Azizan bin Muhammad Noor, the chairman of the board of governor of KYS, to give some comments, and followed by Mr. Palo, the vice chairman of the board member, the board of governor of Vajiravudh College. Please kindly also hear out some comments. Please.
First of all, Sawadee. Thank you, Joe. Your name is too long, I can't remember, I'm sorry. The principal of Vajiravudh College, and Do, the deputy principal of Vajiravudh College, and the two members of the Board of Governors. You guys did a fantastic job. Your elaboration was very, very precise, fantastic, and both sides did very, very well. I think the gist of it is, we were talking about technology. If I can ask you one question, what were the main events of the world that spurred or catalyzed new technologies? Can anybody answer me, please? Ozzy, my friend here? Any answers to that? What catalyzed technologies in human development? Catastrophes, the world wars, created a lot of new technologies. The First World War, Second World War, antibiotics, penicillin, came from World War development. Fermentation processes, for example, all the propulsion technology, rocket technology, navigation technology came from world wars. And the most recent catastrophe, COVID, that brought out new technologies as well, especially in vaccine production. Most of us got vaccines, either Pfizer or Sinovac or AstraZeneca. Now, the lady that designed AstraZeneca was my lab mate. She was 2 years my junior when I was studying in England. And the new technology that came about goes to say to one side that I'm not saying either side is right or wrong, but technologies can be beneficial, can also be detrimental. The question is, how did COVID come about? It's a big debate now, but doesn't matter. The main thing is we develop technologies to fight, to control the spread of COVID. Another question is being asked also is, will nature not take its course? Meaning that it will die by itself. It may have done, but the vaccines make it quicker. that we had. So I'm not saying either side is right or wrong. All I'm saying is, in a debate like this, it's not the facts that count. It's how you present it that counts. Who's more convincing? Are they more convincing, or are they more convincing? That's a key thing about winning a debate. Educators, you agree? It's not about the facts, because you can't verify facts now, right? Pardon the word, you can bullshit your way through. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. That's the way it is. In debates, how convincing you can be, factually is correct or wrong, that's a different story. That's the main thing. Now, we started this debate primarily to create another platform for interaction between Vajiravudh and KYS. If it's just rugby, that's just one platform. A debate like this creates a different kind of platform. The other one which we are supposed to have, but unfortunately not this year, is music. Orchestral performance between KYS and Vajiravudh as a combined performance. Because music transgresses language. We perform in China, for example. We can't speak the language, but music bridges the students' performance just because music is universal. So I'm glad, thank you so much for making this a success, first time. And there will be more. Maybe more, maybe not just one team, but maybe two teams, junior teams and senior teams, we don't know. We'll see, looking at time. So again, thank you so much for inviting us and hosting us this time. Sawadee ka, thank you so much.
I believe because so many of comments has been done, the useful one. For me, I really appreciate the way both sides. I can't imagine that the performance that you have done without homework, lots of homework that you put together. No way you can do something like this. I'm really impressed. The result of the debate today will be announced later on. As far as I'm concerned, all 6 of you are winners. They have done an outstanding job. And I'm really impressed, to be honest with you. I was surprised to hear both sides. With your younger age, be able to articulate the subject which beyond me, to be honest with you. If I were young like you, I wouldn't be able to do something like this. So, congratulations, thank you, and we should do more of something like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone for your comments. It was interesting to hear the different perspectives. We can all agree that our debaters did an outstanding job today.
On behalf of Vajiravudh College and Kolej Yayasan Saad, we sincerely thank our distinguished adjudicator for sharing their expertise and valuable insight. We are confident that your feedback will be inspired and encourage our debaters as they continue to develop their skills.
Ladies and gentlemen, our adjudicators have reached their decision. We will now proceed to the announcement of the results and prize presentation. The results will be announced without regard to the order of the judges.
And the adjudicator decision is a split decision. The first judge gives the propositions win on 272 to 263. The second judge gives the oppositions win on 295.5 to 279.5. And the last judge gives the winning team on point 267 to 252. And the winners of VCKYS first friendship debate is, let's make some noise, is the oppositions from Kolej Yayasan Saad. Congratulations.
Congratulations, guys. Well done. Congratulations once again to the winning team. We would also like to commend both of the teams for their outstanding performance, thoughtful arguments, and exemplary sportsmanship throughout today's competition. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in giving both teams a well-deserved round of applause.
May I respectfully invite Mr. Kietikhun Chad Prasert, Headmaster of Vajiravudh College, to present the championship trophy to winning team. And next, we would now like to express our sincere appreciation to our distinguished adjudicator for their professionalism, dedications, and invaluable contributions to the competitions. May I respectfully invite Mr. Kietikhun Chad Prasert, Headmaster of Vajiravudh College, to present souvenir to our adjudicators as a token of our appreciations. May I invite our judge to come forward as their name are announced and remain on stage together for the official group photo. First, Mr. Chanakan Vichya Sakaphan. Miss Jinjutha Pantongkham. Miss Napat Wang Sirikhaisan.
Congratulations once again to the winning team. May I now invite both debate teams to remain on stage for the official group photo. And may I also respectfully invite Professor Maud Azizan bin Maud Noor, Chairman of the Board of Governors of College of Yayasan Saad, and Ms. Natra Binti Usman, Deputy Principal of College Yayasan Saad, to join Mr. Kietikhun Chad Prasert on stage for the official group photo. Can everyone come on stage for the photo, please? We would like to now ask the judges if they could please join for the group photo. Okay, thank you so much. We would like to now commence with the closing remarks.
All right, and today's debate has been a wonderful celebration of ideas, respectful dialogue, and intellectual exchange. More importantly, it has a reflect that shared values of Vajiravudh College and Kolej Yayasan Saad, developing young people who think critical, communicate confidently, and lead with integrity and respect.
The inaugural VC KYS Friendship Debate marks another meaningful milestone in partnership between our two schools. We hope this event will become a cherished tradition that continues to strengthen our friendship and provide many more opportunities for our students to learn, grow, and inspire one another.
On behalf of Vajiravudh College, we would like to express our heartfelt appreciations to Professor Dr. Mohammad Assistant bin Mohammad Noor, Ms. Madam Nathan Binti Hilsmans, our distinguished adjudicators, teachers, students, and everyone who has contributed to the success of today's event. Thank you for making VCKYS first friendship debate a truly memorable occasions.
To our friends from Kolej Yayasan Saad, thank you for joining us in Bangkok. We wish you a pleasant stay and every success at tomorrow's 18th VC KYS traditional rugby match. We look, guys, good luck. We look forward to many more years of friendship and collaboration between our two schools.
Ladies and gentlemen, this contribute the first VC KYS friendship debate.
I, Maxine Woodley,
And I'm Tayshit Trakun Thongchai.
wish you a pleasant afternoon and look forward to welcoming you again at future VC KYS events.
ขอบคุณและสวัสดีครับ
Thank you.